I forgot to mention is gluten, which is in every carb pretty much possible. And I know they make like gluten-free stuff, but that shit tastes weird to me. I can still eat chicken. That's good. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be kind of turning into a rabbit. So I don't know. I guess I'm gonna turn into a Victoria's Secret model. Call me Angel Reese.
Sophie Cunningham just set off the biggest firestorm of the entire Wnba offseason, and the internet has completely erupted in chaos. With only one short comment, lasting less than 20 seconds, she's suddenly being called everything from a clout-hungry attention seeker to straight-up racist. Social media is burning up, but most people yelling online don't even understand what's really going on. By the end of this video, you'll see that Sophie's remark didn't just stir drama. It uncovered a deeper tension inside women's basketball. This isn't about Angel Reese or Victoria's Secret anymore. It's about control, privilege, perception, and who truly has a voice in the league. The so-called blonde bomber might have just delivered the most calculated 30 seconds of the entire season. But was it a cold, deliberate jab, or simply a misunderstood joke? Keep watching, because before we judge Sophie, you need to hear Aya Wilson's surprising words about Aaliyah Boston. The very comment that's making fans question whether the WNBA's biggest superstar has grown too comfortable inside her own bubble of protection.
In the championship celebration for the Las Vegas Aces, we got A'ja Wilson with a whistle, and she said, "The only special whistle I know." Okay. A'ja, you gotta relax. You gotta relax, mama. Y'all barely beat a hospital team in the Indiana Fever. Like, come on, come on. Y'all did win a championship, and you did your thing. You balled out. But, bro, you act like people are making this up when they talk about you getting a...
Right now, the only special whistle making headlines belongs to Aya Wilson, the reigning champ, MVP frontrunner, and flat-out dominant force of the WNBA. She didn't just brush off accusations of getting superstar treatment from refs. She laughed them off, throwing in a not-so-subtle jab at Aaliyah Boston, who couldn't buy a single foul call when her team needed it most during the playoffs. At first glance, it might seem like harmless competitive banter, but that couldn't be further from the truth. This was the exact moment when the WNBA's long-whispered credibility crisis turned into a public reality, and Aya unintentionally threw fuel on a fire that's been burning quietly since the finals. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's rewind to Sophie Cunningham's viral comment, because her words about Angel Reese didn't just divide fans. They peeled back the curtain on how fragile the so-called peace in women's basketball really is. Most people latched onto her Victoria's Secret joke and instantly picked a side. What almost nobody asked was the one question that actually matters. Why did Sophie feel bold enough to say it now? And what changed behind the scenes?
Forgot to mention is gluten, which is in every carb pretty much possible. And I know they make like gluten-free stuff, but that shit tastes weird to me. I can still eat chicken. That's good. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be kind of turning into a rabbit. So I don't know. I guess I'm gonna turn into a Victoria's Secret model. Call me Angel Reese.
Pay close attention to how he breaks this down, because he caught something almost everyone else overlooked. Sure, Angel Reese really did walk the Victoria's Secret runway. That's a fact nobody's disputing. And yes, Sophie Cunningham cracked a quick joke about it. Also true. But what followed next is where everything spiraled completely out of control. The comments section exploded, accusations flying left and right, and within minutes, the conversation shifted from humor to headlines about race and privilege. Sophie was instantly branded a clout chaser, someone supposedly chasing relevance by name-dropping bigger stars. But here's where it gets even more revealing. This is the exact same narrative loop we saw play out around Caitlin Clark all season long. In today's WNBA culture, it feels like any time a white player even references a black star, the conversation automatically turns into a racial debate. That's not random. It's the product of 2 years of tension, where every post, every quote, every side glance gets filtered through one hypersensitive lens. And Sophie? She's not naive. She's been in this league long enough to know exactly how volatile this kind of moment can become. Which leads us to the only question that really matters. Back-end index pointing right, why did she choose to say it anyway? And what would she try to prove?
Thing that's happened recently is Sophie Cunningham getting into the media space. She gonna always give us something. Always. I love the fact that Sophie is doing podcasting and talking more. Let's take a look at what Sophie Cunningham was referring to before.
One of the most surprising plot twists in the WNBA right now is Sophie Cunningham's sudden rise as a media figure. And honestly, he's spot on for highlighting it. Because this shift isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about how influence and narrative control are changing inside the league. Sophie's no longer just a sharpshooter on the court. She's transforming into a full-fledged media personality. As one-third of Trace Letch's, she's hosting podcasts, dropping viral clips, and learning how to play the digital engagement game like a pro. And in today's media ecosystem, there's one unspoken rule. Controversy equals clicks, and clicks equal power. And right now, nothing drives attention in the WNBA quite like anything tied to Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark. So don't mistake this for coincidence. Sophie knows exactly what she's doing. She's watching players like Angel turn on-court fame into global exposure, walking the Victoria's secret runway, landing magazine covers, and signing endorsement deals that most athletes can only dream of. With one perfectly timed joke, Sophie made sure the internet couldn't stop talking about her. Was it shade? Was it admiration? Neither. It was calculated brand strategy. She inserted herself into the league's loudest storyline without breaking a single rule. Pure media chess at its finest. But here's where everything went off the rails. The debate shifted from strategy to scandal. Suddenly, people were arguing over whether Sophie was racist, jealous, or disrespectful for joking about a black player. And in all that noise, the real question got completely buried. Backhand index pointing right, why is Angel Reese spending her off-season walking fashion runways instead of fixing the weaknesses that cost her team during the playoffs?
Okay, Angel Reese walking in the fashion show. Okay, she got her angel wings on. Okay, so this is what Sophie Cunningham is referring to. Like I said, I have no problem with this. Walking the runway, bikini thing, whatever. I don't care. You do your thing. I didn't really feel like this was in it.
Watch this clip closely. He's showing Angel Reese strutting confidently down the Victoria's Secret runway, and his breakdown is absolutely on point. Personally, I've got zero issue with it, and neither should anyone else. Angel earned that moment. She's got the charisma, the audience, and the kind of marketability that brands dream of. But here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. The same people praising Angel for expanding her brand are the ones who dragged Caitlin Clark for doing a short Saturday Night Live cameo during the season. The double standard couldn't be clearer. When Caitlin does media, she's called distracted. When Angel does it, she's empowering. When Sophie even jokes about it, she's suddenly racist. See the pattern? The rules shift depending on the player, and everyone's pretending not to notice. That's the real controversy, not Sophie's comment itself, but the hypocrisy it exposed in how fans, media, and even the league treat different stars. Now, let's pivot back to Aya Wilson, because her recent statement about officiating is somehow even more out of touch than Sophie's situation is controversial. Remember that clip from earlier? The only special whistle I know is Aya Wilson. That's her denying something that's statistically obvious, and she did it while taking a jab at Aaliyah Boston, who got absolutely robbed by bad calls during their playoff series. Special whistle? Really? You shot 19 free throws in the final game, more than the entire Phoenix Mercury team combined. If that's not superstar treatment, what is? Come on, Aya, nobody's making this stuff up. Let's be real for a second. It's not going to hurt your legacy to acknowledge the obvious. Everyone in the league knows you get calls that most players can only dream about. 19 free throws. That's how many Aya Wilson shot by herself in the championship game. The entire Phoenix Mercury roster? Fewer than that. Just let that sink in. One player earned more trips to the line than an entire professional basketball team. And how did Aya respond when people pointed it out? By mocking critics, joking about special whistles, and pretending this wasn't based on cold, hard stats. That's not confidence. That's classic superstar privilege. It's the same blind spot we've seen from LeBron James, Tom Brady, and other legends who simply can't admit they benefit from the system. But here's where Aya's case is way more serious. The Wnba is still fighting for credibility and growth, trying to prove the game is fair and competitive. And their biggest star acting tone-deaf about officiating? That's a disaster for optics. Because here's the thing, Caitlin Clark just brought millions of new eyes to the league. Those fans tuned in and watched her get knocked down, shoved, and targeted game after game with no whistle in sight. Then, in the same season, they saw Aya get touched and head straight to the line. The contrast couldn't be more obvious, and it's eroding trust in the very league that's counting on these new fans to stay. When it comes to accolades, Aya Wilson has checked every box: multiple MVPs, WNBA titles, dominance on both ends of the court. No one's denying her greatness. But let's be real, she also gets a huge assist from the referees. You can't even breathe near her without hearing a whistle. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark gets slammed to the floor with no call. Nafisa Collier gets her leg run through by Alyssa Thomas, still no whistle. But one deep breath next to Aya? Instant foul. You can hear the frustration in people's voices. This isn't hate, it's honesty. Fans and analysts aren't denying Aya's greatness, they're just refusing to ignore the obvious officiating imbalance. Because both things can be true. Aya Wilson is a generational talent, and she benefits from superstar calls that others don't get. The real issue is Aya's refusal to admit it. When you deny something that's plain as day, you don't look confident, you look out of touch. And when you mock the people pointing out the stats, it makes you look defensive and delusional. Worst of all, when you take subtle shots at players like Aaliyah Boston, who clearly don't get those same advantages, you come off as entitled. Here's what Aya doesn't seem to get. Aaliyah Boston pushed her to the limit in that playoff series. If Kelsey Mitchell hadn't gone down with an injury, and if the Indiana Fever weren't forced to rely on Shea Petty for big minutes, Vegas might not have even made it to the finals. The Aces were vulnerable, and Indiana exposed them. The only reason that series didn't go longer? Injuries, and let's be honest, officiating that clearly leaned toward the defending champs. So yeah, Aya, don't get it twisted. If Kelsey doesn't get hurt, you probably don't even make the finals. All the jokes, all the special whistle talk, that's not confidence. That's denial. If Kelsey Mitchell doesn't get hurt, the truth is simple. Aya Wilson and the Aces probably don't even make it to the finals. That's the reality Aya doesn't want to face. Vegas was beatable. Indiana had them on the ropes, and once injuries tore through the Fever's roster, the series flipped overnight. Instead of recognizing how tight that matchup really was or giving credit to a young team that pushed them harder than anyone expected, Aya chose to crack jokes about special whistles and take shots at Aaliyah Boston. That right there is the mindset of someone who knows the criticism has truth, but can't admit it without feeling like it would undermine their success. Aya's worked her whole life to reach this level. She's earned the MVPs, the championships, the dominance, but she's also gotten help from officials who treat her differently than they do other stars. Her refusal to acknowledge that doesn't make her look strong, it makes her look insecure. Real confidence sounds like this. Yeah, I get some calls, but I'm still that good. That's what secure greatness says. But Aya can't say that because deep down, she knows the favoritism has gone too far. Now, connect the dots between Sophie Cunningham and Aya Wilson because their stories expose the same core issue from opposite sides. Sophie made a joke that was clearly calculated for engagement and immediately got hit with accusations of racism and clout chasing. Aya made a joke mocking legitimate criticism, and she got applause from the very same people attacking Sophie. See the contradiction? The same behavior gets two completely different reactions, all depending on who says it and who it's about. That's the current WNBA climate, hypersensitive, polarized, and quick to assign motives. Every comment is dissected, every joke becomes a culture war, and every player interaction turns into headline drama. And who wins in this system? The ones who know how to play it. Players like Sophie, who understand that controversy equals visibility. Players like Aya, who know their superstar status protects them from real backlash. But here's the real problem. This environment is toxic for the league's growth. New fans don't want to tiptoe through a world where every opinion risks being labeled racist. Casual viewers won't stay loyal to a sport where the officiating feels biased and the outcomes feel scripted. And even the players themselves are trapped, unable to speak honestly without starting a firestorm. At this rate, the Wnba isn't building unity. It's building walls between its stars, its fans, and its credibility. Let's be honest, Sophie Cunningham's joke about Angel Reese was calculated, and that's not a bad thing. In 2025, that's just smart business. Angel has turned controversy and attention into mainstream fame, landing deals and exposure most Wnba players can only dream of. Sophie sees that blueprint, and she's running the same play. The people angry at Sophie aren't really upset about the joke itself. They're upset that she's using the same attention-driven tactics that other players have used successfully. It's as if she's breaking an unspoken rule. She's not supposed to play the media game the way the stars do. But she is, and it's working. People say she's always name-dropping big players to stay relevant. Well, yeah, that's the strategy. And guess what? It's paying off. We're talking about Sophie Cunningham right now. Her podcast is trending, her media brand is growing, and every critic arguing about her online is feeding her engagement numbers. Sophie isn't clueless, she's strategic. Every move she makes is deliberate, and the fact that people can't see that only makes her plan more effective. Meanwhile, Aya Wilson is doing the opposite. Instead of leveraging her platform smartly, she's using it to punch down, mocking younger players, brushing off valid criticism, and acting like she's above accountability. That's not confidence. That's insecurity disguised as dominance. When you're truly secure at the top, you don't need to belittle anyone. You can say, yeah, I get some calls, but I've still earned every win. Aya can't do that, and it makes her look smaller than her game deserves. So no, the real story here isn't Sophie's Victoria's Secret joke or Aya's tone-deaf comments. It's what both moments reveal about the state of the Wnba. The league is stuck between evolution and chaos, between massive growth and constant drama, between mainstream opportunity and self-sabotage, between players who understand modern media strategy and those who think on-court greatness makes them untouchable. The Wnba is at a crossroads, and both Sophie and Aya are symbols of that tension, one thriving by playing the media game, and the other struggling to adapt to a new world where every move is magnified. And honestly, the whole runway bikini thing, who cares? Let Angel do her thing. The real issue isn't who's walking the runway, it's who's learning how to walk the line between relevance and reputation. Honestly, I didn't see this as a big deal. Yeah, some people were calling Sophie all kinds of names over it, but to me, it just didn't feel that serious. Still, what's fascinating is how he breaks it down, the way he acknowledges the messiness, the awareness that these players know exactly what they're doing, and the realization that this has all become part of the show now. There was a time when the Wnba was purely about basketball, the rivalries, the stats, the competition. But now, the game almost feels secondary to the endless off-court drama, debates, and viral controversies. Is that good for the league? Well, that depends on who you ask. It's great for engagement, clicks, views, conversations. It's great for players who are building personal brands and learning to navigate the modern media machine. But for the fans who just want to watch high-level basketball, without every game turning into a referee conspiracy or every joke being dissected for racial undertones, it's exhausting. And that's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to admit. The drama is fueling the Wnba's growth, but it's also pushing away the purists, the fans who fell in love with the game, not the noise around it. Casual fans love the mess. Hardcore fans are tired of it. And the players? They're stuck right in the middle, trying to survive in an ecosystem where a 30-second joke can turn into a week-long controversy, and 19 free throws in a finals game get brushed off as a special whistle meme. Sophie Cunningham knew exactly what she was doing. She saw a moment, inserted herself into the biggest conversation, and once again proved that in today's Wnba, attention is currency, and she's learned exactly how to spend it.